Hello, everybody, and welcome into a new episode of Prep Rally, a high school sports podcast and webcast produced by the Daily Journal and djournal.com. I'm your host, Brad Locke, here alongside, again, Gene Phelps, senior writer for the Journal. How you doing, Gene?
I'm doing great. Fixing to go on vacation.
Well, good, Gene. You deserve it.
All right. Thank you. Yes, I do.
You've been doing a lot of work these past few months, for sure. Again, it's a webcast and a podcast. If you're watching right now, thanks for tuning in. If you missed any of this or just want to watch it later, if you missed it, watch the replay at djournal.com. And the podcast, you can listen to it for free on iTunes, your podcast app, or at preprally.djournal.com. And be sure to follow us on Twitter at djournalpreps. Well, Gene, we're well into June now. We're well into the off season. Football will be here before we know it, but things have slowed down a little bit. But we still have some stuff to talk about off the field, some coaching news, Gene.
Right.
So let's get into that right away. Corinth was looking for a new football coach after Doug Jones left to take a job in the Madison County School District, a non-coaching job. They've got a guy, Gene. The other day hired Todd Lowery out of coming from Perry Central, where he spent the past 4 years as head coach. Correct?
Yes. You know where Perry Central is, Brad?
Not precisely.
South Mississippi, south of Hattiesburg, north of the coast, kind of over in that southeast corner of the state.
Okay.
And Perry County, a consolidated school.
Okay. So, yeah, he's come a long way.
He has an impressive resume. He was 4 years at Perry Central, and he's a seminary native. Young guy, 34 years old. He coached at Poplarville, and he went back to seminary, his home, before he got this job at Perry Central. I saw where he's a USM graduate, worked on his master's, or got his master's at William Carey. So he's a Pine Belt guy moving to the far northeast Mississippi as you can move.
Yeah, moving into hill country. And you look at his record, 4 years head coach at Perry Central, 18-27, 17 in division. That's not impressive in and of itself, but kind of look at the program he inherited. They went 12-1 in 2009.
Right.
They had a really good year. And then the 2 years before he got hired, they went a combined 5-17. So that program went downhill in a hurry, and he kind of had to rebuild it, Gene. He went 2-8 his first year, but then the next year he's 6-6. I believe they made the playoffs that year. Then they go 5-7 and 5-6. They kind of, I guess, plateaued a little bit there over those 3 years, but he made the playoffs twice. And, he's in 3A, and there's some pretty good 3A football being played down that way as well.
And as we all know, that Corinth is a very progressive program with all their sports, athletics, very supportive, community-wide and community-wise. And, they've got artificial turf for football.
They do.
Artificial turf for baseball and softball. And really nice facilities. And, Corinth, I'm sure he's the right fit for Corinth. And be interesting to see how he does there. I thought Doug Jones did an excellent job, but I guess Doug thought it was time to move on to administration. After 4 years as a head coach, but he's inheriting a Corinth team that's been winning.
Went 8-4 last year.
Yeah, and goes to the playoffs, albeit they lose in the first round.
True.
Seems to be a trend right now that maybe they could end, but.
But he'll have the resources, like you said. They got the nice facilities. He's going to have athletes. They've always got athletes at Corinth.
Yeah, they do.
And who they got coming back this year?
Don't get me to line. I haven't even done my homework. I'm not really familiar. I know Antarius Gwynn was one of their better players, and he's gone.
Yeah, this
at Northwest playing basketball and football. So I don't know who they've got back because they just hadn't done enough in-depth study on.
You're going to be doing that soon enough, which we'll talk about later in the program. Looking ahead to football time. So anyway, Todd Lowery is the new coach there at Corinth High School. We'll see how he does there with the Warriors. Had a couple of other hires recently, non-football, Gene, but still, you had Pontotoc has a new fast pitch coach / athletics director.
Yeah, Austin McNair. Some of the Morville fans will remember Coach McNair. He coached Philadelphia. The team Morville beat this season for the fast pitch championship in 2 games. Last season, Philadelphia defeated Morville in the championship in 3 games. And McNair was the coach. And I believe, if my memory hasn't failed me, back Philadelphia won the slow pitch championship in 2015 and beat Nettleton. And Nettleton had knocked off Morville to be able to go to the championship. So people in this area are familiar with McNair. Young guy, 28 years old. He's from Philadelphia and went to Neshoba Central and East Mississippi Community College. East Central Community College, excuse me, East Central in Decatur, and Mississippi State grad. First job out of college was back in Philadelphia at Philadelphia High School. He was hoping to get a baseball job. Went to a fast pitch game with a friend of his, said, hey, I wouldn't mind doing that. Fast pitch opportunity came open. He took it. Yeah. He was coached for 5 years, won 3 state championships down there, 2 in slow pitch, 1 in fast, and was athletic director at Philadelphia for all 5 of those years.
Okay.
So he seems to be a perfect fit for that Pontotoc athletic department and system. A really good school system over there and really good athletic teams. Yeah. And looks like a nice match.
And then you've got Smithville with a new baseball coach, a name people should be familiar with, Jamie Russell, who at one time was actually football coach at Morville and then was baseball coach at Ripley.
Correct.
Taking over at Smithville.
Right. That's correct. Yeah. Okay. Kind of confusing keeping up with Jamie. I know he's been in administration and been a principal of some sort at Morville for the last 4 or 5 years. I haven't had an opportunity to talk with Jamie yet, but talking with some other people, he was really interested in getting back into baseball. Yeah. He's still young and wanted to give it another try. Smithville's not a bad place to give it a try. No, they've got nice facilities and a lot of support there too. A lot of
tradition there, and they've won some state championships recently.
Yes, recently, a recent history there, success. And so Jamie Russell back in coaching. I don't know if he'll have any administrative duties or not. Don't know anything about that, but this certainly is a good hire for Smithville.
Yeah, no doubt. Okay, let's move on to some softball, Gene. All area, we've talked about it before. We ran it this past Sunday, the all area softball team that the Daily Journal puts out each year. And Morville sweeping the honors, Gene. Hallie Donald, Player of the Year, Perry Wilburn, Coach of the Year. And, of course, like you mentioned, they beat Philadelphia to win the state championship in Class 3A. So, well-deserved.
Yeah, and, Morville came into the season. A lot of people kind of thought they would get back to Ridgeland and play for the championship and probably against Philadelphia because Philadelphia was really good and had everybody back too. Yeah. And so the pressure was there from the get-go. Yeah. And Morville, I believe, finished 32-1. That's pretty impressive. Their only loss was they went to like a preseason type tournament they like to go to down in Orange Beach, that area, at the start of every season. Mm-hmm. It's a good chance for the girls to have a little camaraderie and kind of build some team unity and things. And they went down there and kind of went through the motions and lost a game to a team from Alabama and that everybody says they should have beaten, but it wound up being their lone loss the entire season. Yeah. And just a really good team. And Perry Wilburn being our coach of the year was kind of a no-brainer. I didn't even realize this. You get to working and things just kind of happen. But Perry has been Morville's only fast pitch coach, 27 years. That's right. 26 out of 27 of those, he's gotten Morville in the playoffs.
It's pretty good.
And they've won now 3 state championships in fast pitch. And his record is 460 wins and 137 losses. That's really impressive.
Yeah, that Morville, of course, has just been a staple on the fast pitch and slow pitch softball scenes over the years.
And people say, well, they were supposed to win. Well, not necessarily. And I think you apply the pressure to win and the expectations of the players themselves and the community. There would have been nothing but disappointment had they gone down there and lost or been eliminated, maybe in the old North half or state semifinals. But they pulled through and had an impressive 2-game sweep at Philadelphia.
Yeah, and we had 2 teams. We did was 10 players on each team, Gene? Softball.
That's correct.
Yeah,
that's
10
correct.
players. So the first team, of course, Hallie Donald, pitcher and infielder for Morville. Her teammate Summer Kreider also made the first team, Gene. And who else do we have?
We had Tiana Castillo, and if you kept up with the Journal the last couple of weeks, she's been in there quite a bit.
Yeah.
She played in the NIMCAB basketball game in Boonville last week, and was MVP on defense, scored like 13 points, had 7 boards, blocked a couple of shots.
Yeah.
And then she turned around and played in the NIMCAB, or whatever you want to call it, the Northeast Mississippi All-Star softball game, hit a grand slam, had 2 doubles, 6 RBIs.
Goodness.
And if you go way back to the fall, she was the MVP of the All-Star, slow pitch All-Star, state All-Star game down at Newton County.
Wow.
Back in the fall.
She can do it all.
She's the girl I had written about that had participated in 9 events during the year. She signed to play softball at Northeast for Coach Jody Long up there. Great signing for him.
Yeah.
A lot of people tell me in the know that she's a possible Division I talent with some work. So just to harness that power. She's also a state powerlifting champion.
Good grief.
Anyway, of course, we mentioned Summer Crider. Nobody hits home runs like Summer Crider. She's I called her one time in a story, the toy cannon. She's she's got the swing. She can get the ball through the zone.
Yeah. You had Callie Frazier.
Callie, a teammate
Union.
of Castillo at East Union. Callie's a solid player, hitter, and in the circle. A player we've talked about on here before from Saltillo, Harley Mullins, a pitcher. Probably a player of the year candidate for next year.
Yeah, she's just a junior.
She's just a junior. She is really good. As a matter of fact, Hallie Donald told me when I asked, was there a time during the season that you thought, hey, this team can make it? And she said when they beat her, the Mullins in Saltillo, she said, if we can beat them, we can beat anybody.
Yeah, there you go.
And I've seen Mullins play, and she's an exceptional player. Bailey Springfield, a lot of people don't know a lot about Bailey. She's from East Webster, which is kind of on the fringe of our coverage area. She went 22-2, and I know her team lost in the state championship series, but they had won 3 previous years, and she had pitched in 2 of those previous years and played in the year as a freshman at position player.
She's a Delta State signee.
Right. And Angel Guyton, last year's fast pitch player of the year, who's just a junior from Smithville, another state champion.
Yep.
She could have easily been the player of the year again this year. She had a slow start, but she really came on strong.
Yeah.
And picked her. That was kind of easy. Morgan Barrett, the pitcher for Smithville. I thought the difference in Morgan getting on the team and some others was she was really strong in the playoffs for them. She had a great year. But, I mean, she really was the difference for those guys with her pitching. To me in the playoffs. And then you've got McKinley Montgomery, an 8th grader.
8th grader.
Hallie Donald's the only other 8th grader that I know that's ever made this team.
Wow.
And McKinley Montgomery is we've had a story on her in the paper from Scotty Nichols.
Yeah,
she participates in everything.
Pretty much,
If they had a Tiddlywinks team, she'd be on that team.
Yeah.
She plays golf, archery, basketball, softball. And then Annalise Long, the catcher from Morville.
Right. So
didn't leave her off. Great year, and then hits 3 bombs in the state championship series.
So 3 players from Morville on the first team. And just real quick, I'm going to run through the second team. You had Lindsay Barber from Mantachie, a 7th grader. Madeline Burdine.
Could have been a first-team selection
hope I don't
easily.
mispronounce her name, from Houston.
Yeah.
Corey Childs from New Site. Mackenzie Denton from South Pontotoc. Kristen Devers from Kossuth. Chloe Eubank from Boonville. Annie Orman from West Union, Ivy Watts from Tupelo, Katie Beth Williams from Smithville, and Tay Wren from Tupelo.
There you go. I'm proud of that team. It was hard to make those selections. I talked with a lot of people, and you beat yourself to death. We're trying to fix these things, as you know.
Yeah.
But anyway, we've got the baseball team hopefully coming out this weekend.
Hopefully this weekend, and we've talked about some people who might be on that as well, and of course. You got the guys from Oxford, Thomas Dillard and Jason Barber. You got Jason Garrett from Tupelo. I mean, a lot of good players. The Wilters up at Kossuth. I mean, just a host of good players.
You could fill the first team up with Houston and Kossuth and Oxford.
Yeah, you could.
And probably wouldn't get a lot of arguments. You might from East Union and TCPS, who also won state championships.
Right.
But the larger schools really had a lot of good players. I don't recall a time in my 30 years here in Tupelo of ever seeing teams as deep with really good talent,
Yeah.
as we've seen this season with Houston, Oxford, and Kossuth.
Yeah.
I mean, really quality talent.
Yeah. And of course, Northeast Mississippi went 5-0 in the state championships in Pearl a few weeks ago. Gene, it's going to sneak up on us here before too long. Football, Gene. We're just like a couple of months away, basically, from football starting. I mean, camps will start, I guess, late July, early August. The season tends to start. I don't know when it starts this year exactly, but it's going to start in August, as usual.
Soon enough.
Yeah. So that means you've got to look ahead to what we call the football tab. It's our special football section we put out every year that previews all however many teams we cover now, Gene. It was 40 something when I was on the beat. I think
we're
it's gone
still
up.
we're around that total now. You add a couple of the consolidated schools like Benton County and some of those. And you know, we've got some fringe academies and things that we try to get in there too. But yeah, it's a busy time of the year. Fall's not like it used to be. When I started in this business 39 years ago, we had football in the fall. Now we have slow pitch softball.
Yeah, cross country.
You're right. Swimming.
That's right. Swimming is fall, isn't it? Yeah.
Sure is. And basketball cranks up during the fall too.
Yeah, it tends to get going. Kind of. At least teams start getting on the practice courts by October.
We always have these great plans, and you were in on that too. You're going to go. We're going to do more on the start of basketball, but then you're so enveloped. You're like in week 8, 7, 8 of football when it's going down to the playoffs. And now you're trying to think about basketball.
I remember a couple of years there, I was able to somehow throw together a small basketball preview section. I still don't know how it got done.
Well, I'm sure you worked overtime.
I probably did.
and then you throw in the fact that during that time, November, you got state swim meet going on. You got the state cross country meet. And those are events we cover.
Yep.
And events teams from up here have success in. So that's why we cover it.
Slow pitch championships in late October.
Yeah, I never have felt we've given basketball their due. And we've tried it. I even put out a basketball section years ago, preseason basketball tab.
Yep.
It wasn't as big as the football section by any means. But after 1 year doing that, I was like, no more.
That's pretty tough to do. But the football section, of course, that usually comes out a week or so before the season starts, and you'll start doing your homework on that pretty quickly.
That's right. And I might be able to answer those questions next time on what's Corinth got back.
Yeah. So, looking forward to that, Gene. I kind of miss and kind of don't miss doing that when I was on the prep beat. It could be fun, but it was time consuming.
Well, you have to ask generally the same questions every time you talk with the coach, and you get generally the same answers.
Everybody's running multiple schemes.
Yeah. That's why we tried to break it down years ago and do offense, defense, and special teams, and just make it more, get a little bit of, you get about 4 or 5 paragraphs for a little creativity, and then you go right into the meat and potatoes.
That's right.
Get those names.
We've got a formula that we worked out years ago that seems to work with that. So anyway, football is going to sneak up on us here, which is just fine with most people, I'm sure. So that's it for today's episode of Prep Rally. Thanks again for tuning in. Again, it's a podcast and a webcast. Watch the replay at djournal.com if you missed it, or listen to the podcast for free on iTunes, your podcast app, or at preprally.djournal.com. Be sure to check us out on Twitter at D Journal Preps. Check out the other podcasts we do here at the Journal. We've got double coverage. That's MSU and Ole Miss Sports Talk with Logan Lowery and Parrish Alford every Thursday. Listen to that on iTunes, your podcast app, or doublecoverage.djournal.com. And the memo, 3 days a week with myself and W. Derek Russell, talking about news and entertainment in Northeast Mississippi, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. Again, listen to that on iTunes, your podcast apps, or at memo.djournal.com. Gene, you're going on vacation, so you will not be here next week. So I'll have someone come in here with me as a guest, or we just may not do one at all, because I'm supposed to be moving into a new house next week. I might not even be here.
That's right.
Might be moving furniture.
Yeah, we probably deserve a break.
Yeah, I think so. So we'll see y'all maybe in a couple of weeks, whenever we do. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.